haven't liked or subscribed. You're going to be joking me.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fansview podcast. This week, I'm so excited to welcome on my first Canadian guest, actually. Amber Balcaen, the driver of the number 22 Icon Direct Toyota for Venturini Motorsports in the ARCA series. First and foremost, Amber, how are we doing today?
We're doing good. We had a good race this past weekend, so trying to carry that on to next weekend, or this coming up weekend, I guess.
Congratulations on your top 10, your P6 finish, I believe.
Yep.
At Kansas Motor Speedway this weekend. As the 2024 campaign comes to an end, what are some things that might have stood out to you this year as far as on-track goes?
I think we had a very competitive field of race cars this year for sure in the ARCA Menard series. And for me, it was just a matter of trying to get the right people in place and my team kind of all cohesive and working together good to make things roll.
Right. So what do you think? Do you have something to build on now going into the 2025 campaign, obviously? And what are your goals? What are you looking to improve on and looking forward to come 2025?
Yeah, absolutely. Getting to race a full season in the ARCA Menard series is amazing for getting all that seat time and learning and experience. The more you can be behind the wheel, the better. So the fact that I got to do so many races this year and learn a ton, both on and off track, I think it definitely will help set me up for next season. And everything that I've learned at each track, I can apply to next year and just keep really growing and improving and keep trying to get better finishes.
Do we have an idea yet? Obviously, it's still super early, but do we have an idea about how many races we're looking to run next year?
I'd like to do the full season, but of course it's all sponsorship dependent.
Right.
So as far as next year, we're not sure where we're going to be at exactly, how many races or the series. That's something my team and I are working to put together right now, but always looking for funding for next season if anyone is interested.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. Obviously, we want to see you on the track and at the track as much as humanly possible. And speaking of the track, I wanted to ask you, what's your favorite track so far, that you've run at? And on top of that, on the back end of that, what's a track that's on Amber's bucket list, so to speak? Any series, not just ARCA or, any series.
Yeah, Daytona and Talladega are always those kind of crown jewel races that I really look forward to. It's so exciting. I love drafting tracks, but I also love the 1.5 mile tracks, the intermediate tracks. So Kansas is definitely up there as well.
And is there a track that you love? Is it Daytona, Talladega, those super speedways?
Yeah, there's so much nostalgia there, and you get goosebumps every time we race there. It's so exciting. It's a track that I dreamed of racing at for a really long time. And as far as a track that I haven't yet raced at that I would really like to is Atlanta. I think Atlanta is like a short super speedway, so I think that would be a really exciting track too.
Yeah, we got to get you out there before that new repave starts to wear. Obviously you've been racing a long time. You've been racing since you were young. When would you say that racing bug really bit you? And what is it about motorsports in general that draws you in, or that drew you in?
It bit me so at such a young age that I don't even remember when. I've been going to the racetrack since I've been in my mom's belly. My dad races and my mom came from a racing family. So it's what I grew up with and it's all that I knew. And my love for the sport just continued to grow as a race fan and then a driver. I begged my dad for years to let me race. And so finally at 10 years old, I was able to. And it's something I knew I loved doing, loved being a part of. And when I got into go-karts and started winning, I realized, hey, this is something I'm kind of good at too. And I went to school, I went to college and tried to go the normal route of life, but it just wasn't for me. So ultimately I ended up dropping out of university and pursuing my dreams to live down here in the USA and race in NASCAR. So it's been a really long journey full of lots of obstacles, even being a Canadian and trying to figure out an immigration lawyer and visa and how I even moved down here and learn the pavement side of the world because I grew up racing dirt. Definitely a lot that I had to overcome to figure all these things out, but super glad that I did.
Well, and you talked about your dad obviously being a big influence on you and your mother as well, coming from the racing family that you came from. was there a specific driver maybe down here in the States, or maybe not anywhere really? Was there a specific driver that you kind of looked up to early on, or that you were a fan of, wanted to emulate maybe?
Yeah, for sure. Other than my dad as like a local driver, I always looked up to Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart, both being from dirt and being successful in NASCAR. I thought they were just really intriguing and really great race car drivers. So nowadays it's, your Kyle Larson's, Christopher Bell's, but all those guys, they made the transition from dirt to pavement look so easy when it really isn't as easy as it looks. So those guys will always definitely be, heroes of mine.
I love that answer so much. And you kind of touched on my next question. I was going to ask you. Obviously, you can't fangirl as much because now they're colleagues. But is there someone in the Cup Series that you enjoy watching maybe more than the rest, or that they have a specific skill set that you like to try to emulate pieces of here and there?
Yeah, honestly, it's hard to pick just one because each driver has so many great assets and abilities that they all kind of bring different things to the table. And so I like to take parts and pieces of each driver and trying to emulate them. Some from on track, some from off track, whether it's how they are in their interviews or with their sponsors, or how they race, how they have respect from their team. There's a lot of good things happening in NASCAR right now, which is exciting. I think the future of the sport is very bright, and I'm really excited and grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah, I just hope you don't take your media skills from Kyle Busch. So far you haven't hit me with the next question, so I think we're doing okay. Um, so moving on to today, obviously you're currently running in the Arc Menard series for Venturini Motorsports. What do you think it is about their program specifically that kind of sets them apart from other, race teams at this level?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. Having the right people around is a big thing. And also, they've had so much success in the sport for such a long period of time. They've been around for
Right.
a long time and they've been successful every single year. And they have all the resources that really help drivers learn and build and become better. And to have the resources from Toyota, from the Toyota Performance Center where we get to train, to being able to go in the TRD sim, just all of the resources that they have available. They have an engineer that a lot of other ARCA teams don't have engineers other than a Joe Gibbs Racing. So
Right.
they just have more resources available that help not only the driver but the team as a whole. Having that manufacturer help is a big deal.
Right. Yeah, and you hit the nail right on the head and just took the words right out of my mouth. Venturini, excuse me, has such a big hand in the TRD, in the Toyota Racing Development Program. With Billy Venturini being at the forefront. For people that may not quite understand, obviously we've seen the commercials. Um, but what is the Toyota Racing Development Program, and how has it helped you specifically in the trajectory of your career?
Yeah, so Toyota Racing Development takes drivers who, are up and coming or looking to further their success in their careers and really help build down the foundations to help them grow and help them succeed and put them in the best situations that they can be. And the thing that sets Toyota apart from other manufacturers is the fact that we have an entire training facility that, not only do we have trainers that help us through our workouts every day. There's a heat room there that we can train to assimilate the heat that we experience in the cars. We have psychiatrists on staff. We have nutritionists on staff. We have
Wow.
Ortho Carolinas in there, which, I broke my foot this year. So getting to rehab with them every week, right at the same place that I train, and have hot tubs, cold tubs. It really just has everything an athlete needs. And no other manufacturer has a state of art facility like that. So one, that's a huge thing. And then on top of that, with the sim program that they have and just all the knowledge that they have that they can take all the way from the Cup Series and bring it down to the other levels of NASCAR. I think that's kind of and they really try to put their drivers in the best situation. They try not to rush them too quick and find the right
Right.
places for them. So I think there's a lot that sets Toyota Racing Development apart from other manufacturers.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it, because until you blew the wheels off of everybody this past weekend, I was going to lead with, how is the foot? Can you tell everybody, that may not know what happened, kind of what happened with your foot and where you are with it now?
Yeah, for sure. So we crashed hard into the wall at Dover in April and broke my foot. I knew immediately that it had been broken because I like to think I'm pretty tough and I couldn't walk on it. And I was like, yeah, this is not good. Something's going on. So had x-rays the day after. And that's another thing is we have a doctor, like right in staff, a Toyota doctor that is able, I got an x-ray the next, flew home, got an x-ray immediately. And that's another thing that Toyota provides. Like when we get hurt, we have people on us helping everything. It's just
Right.
incredible. So I broke my third metatarsal or fracture. So that's the third bone in the foot was completely broken in half, and unfortunately kind of kept re-injuring it throughout the season because I didn't
Right.
stop racing. I continued to race, and my foot didn't like that. So we're now, I don't know, 4 or 5 months post break, and now I'm finally out of the boot. I still wear a carbon fiber insert in my racing boot, but I can wear regular shoes now, and it's probably about 97% healed.
Is that something, obviously it's not a horrific crash like some of these guys have experienced, but is that something that kind of stays with you maybe for a couple weeks at least where it's in the back of your mind?
Yeah, I think your body's reaction when it gets hurt is to not use that limb. And so when I went to brake, my body wanted to hesitate using the brake because it's like, no, we're not ready to use that yet. So I think mentally I was able to work through it pretty well. Obviously I wasn't able to work out like I normally did. I still trained upper body every day, but I wasn't able to go for my daily walks and things like that. So was definitely more sedentary than I usually am, which was kind of a struggle. But it was really tough on the hard braking tracks. But when we got to tracks where there wasn't much brake needed, it was a lot easier.
A la Talladega, here we go
Yeah.
again. Just to bring it back to TRD, what is a typical day in the program for you? Obviously, I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, and I'm going to link it in the description of this video. We saw your first form sponsored video where we got a day in the life of Amber. You were getting your helmet and your fire suit and such. But just specifically to TRD, what's a day in the life kind of in that program look like?
Yeah, we usually train in the mornings at TRD. And another thing at Toyota Performance Center, they have sims is there as well. It's not the big multi-million dollar TRD sim, but they do have stationary simulators that we can use. So train, and then we can do any rehab that we need to do with Ortho Carolina. And then there's a kitchen there, so we can make our smoothie, take our vitamin, talk to with the nutritionist, go on the sim. And then just kind of there's meeting rooms we can take calls in or meetings or anything we need to there. So after that, usually head to the race shop and get fitted and find the strategy for the next race, and kind of just do calls and sponsorship stuff from there.
And I'll tell you what, this Performance Institute sounds fantastic. I'm gonna have to get with Tom and get a get something arranged. I got to see this place. Um, we talked about Venturini and obviously Venturini. I keep on mispronouncing it. We've talked about Venturini and the lineage that they have as far as the champions they've produced, and will produce, yourself included. I do believe one day. Is there a teammate of yours or a member of the team of Venturini Motorsports that you look at maybe from afar, or you've told them and you say, yeah, they're going to be special in racing sooner probably rather than later? Is there anybody that stands out to you?
I think everyone that gets in a Venturini car is a good race car driver, to be honest.
Okay.
I haven't seen anyone who isn't capable. Toyota wouldn't let a driver in there if they weren't capable. And,
Okay.
Isabella Robusto, she's someone who's up and coming who I think is going to do a really great job. Gio's really great. And then Tony as well. Tony and I got super close this season, and having each other to lean on, whether we had some bad races or good races, that having her as a teammate was definitely a big blessing this season.
I love that. We love Tony here at the Fans View for sure. Well, speaking of Star, you're not just a race car driver. In 2019, you dabbled in reality television. Obviously, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't watch a lot of CMT and I don't watch Racing Wives, but I'd
Please don't.
love to hear you. I would love to hear you talk about, what that experience was like and how did that come along?
Yeah, honestly, it was a really cool experience. And the reason I got that opportunity was because of Samantha Bush. I was racing for Kyle Busch Motorsports at the time, and they had already shot the pilot for the show. And I think a couple girls weren't able to do it. So Sam reached out to me and said, "Hey, like, what do you think of being part of the show? It can help you with sponsors, help you with exposure." And I said, "Yes, absolutely." I was still trying to find sponsors at that time. I had recently moved from Canada, so, was broke. I didn't have any money. I was here on a visa, and I thought it would be a good opportunity for me. So I don't love the way that I was portrayed in the show. And, it was filmed in 2017, which people grow a lot in their 20s. So, I don't love how it all came across. But at the end of the day, it was a really cool experience. I am grateful for it. It was fun. I got to do things that I would have never got to do without being in that show. And made some friends too. Whitney, Mariel, all the girls are really great.
Well, I think you're safe for now. I don't believe CMT has a streaming platform, so I don't know where people can watch it.
I
But
know, but I'm not going to share.
strike that from the record, folks. Let's talk about something that maybe you enjoyed a little bit more. Even before that, it was 2017, I believe. You actually got to co-host Cars That Rock with Brian Johnson from AC/DC.
Yeah.
That had to be a pretty kick-ass experience. What was that
That
like?
that was a kick-ass experience. Like, that was one of the coolest things. He's the coolest guy that I've ever met in my life, hands down. He is the most humble person you would ever meet. You would have no idea that he's a huge rock star, global rock star, because
Yeah.
he is just the kindest, most down-to-earth, humble guy. And I had so much fun filming with him. It was awesome.
All right, folks. If you want to go look for episodes of that, you have her blessing.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, we're just gonna roll right along. So obviously, with the platform that you have, being on TV, being a full-time racer, when little girls approach you and they tell you that maybe this is something they love as well, do you have a piece of advice that you like to share with them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing I tell them is to try to take gender out of it completely and just try to focus on being the best race car driver you can be. It's going to be tough. There's going to be a lot of hard moments that you're going to have to build some mental toughness for. But if you keep working at it and keep your heart into it, stay disciplined and consistent, then you can make anything happen.
Yeah, and I hate that I have to even mention the gender thing, but unfortunately, it does come up.
Yeah.
Um, do you feel, as a woman in motorsports, which has traditionally been a boys' club, obviously these days with people like you and Tony, Isabella, Haley, obviously that's you guys have started to break the mold. But do you feel a personal responsibility to be a role model for those women? Obviously, I'm a father of a 2-year-old girl, so I would love for her to have people to look up to. Like I said, like you, like Tony, like Haley. Do you feel that responsibility?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I always have. I want to be able to portray female motorsports in a positive light and also show girls that, hey, like, if Amber can do that, then I can do it too. Because I remember watching Danica on Sundays and being like, wow, there's a female in the Cup Series. Like, this is insane. And I truly don't know, if I had never seen that, if I would believe that it would be possible for myself too. So I think seeing is believing, and it's great to have representation in the sport so that we can encourage other people to get into it as well.
Yeah, I love it. It's now become a normal thing. Like you said, when Danica broke in, it was like, oh, there's a girl, but now it's just like, oh yeah, there's like 4 girls in the field. I mean, that's pretty awesome. That NASCAR is finally starting to evolve with the times.
Yeah.
Um, so at this stage of your career, obviously you've talked about how you want to be a role model, you want to keep racing, you want to keep, inching up closer and closer, moving forward. What keeps you motivated at this point, week in, week out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think multiple things. One is I still don't feel like I've fulfilled my own potential, and I always feel like I still have something to prove, and I want to be able to do that. I want to come out of motorsports on top and be able to have some wins and some really great finishes that I can be proud of. And two, the support that I get from my fans and the people that are behind me, my sponsors, my team, and other, like you said, other little girls, and not only little girls, but other younger people who have a big dream and think it's crazy, and don't maybe have someone to look up to that came where they were from, and say, hey, wow, like, if Amber can do this despite all of her obstacles, then I can do what I want to do as well. So I think it's important to, nowadays NASCAR is a wealthy man's sport. And there are a few of us that didn't come from that and have had to work really hard. But I think it's just as it is important to have females in the sports, it's important to have people that, come from the grassroots racing and don't come from money and come from different countries and maybe aren't your typical, NASCAR driver. So I just really want to show people what is possible when you put your heart and soul into everything. And also, I still feel like I have something to prove.
I love that's such a great answer. I was already a fan of you, but I just every time you answer it, you make me a bigger fan.
Well, thank you.
So we're gonna have some fun on here, but first I have to ask you the deep question. What's the best piece of advice? Doesn't have to be racing related whatsoever. What's the best piece of advice you would say that you've ever been given? What stands out to you?
The best piece of advice that I've ever been given is to not let the opinions of others dictate the decisions you make for yourself. And I live by that. I believe by that. I think that if you have a vision for your life, that you have that vision for a reason and you need to take that path. It might be a difficult path. People may not understand that path, but the person that you are going to become when you take that path is going to be worth it. And that's why I just think it's so important to hold your vision. Don't let the opinions of others, sway you. If you have that burning desire in your heart to do something, then you need to take action on it.
That's some great advice. So this is the Fans View podcast. So I have to ask you, when you're away from the track, what's Amber Balcaen a fan of?
Motorsports. Yeah, I mean, when I'm not racing, I'm usually watching racing. I had a couple off weekends this year, and I still somehow ended up at the racetrack. As much I'm like, hey, I'm not going to a racetrack this weekend, I still would end up there somehow. But yeah, I love watching NASCAR on TV, and I do enjoy football as well. I've got into painting because everyone told me I need to get a hobby, so I've kind of been getting into painting a little bit because I didn't have a hobby. And I enjoy making videos. I post a lot of videos on my social media, so I edit a lot of those, and I enjoy doing that, and just spending time with friends and family.
Wow, that's impressive. That little nugget at the end there where you're talking about editing videos. As someone that edits videos, and not well either, but that's a lot of work. Yeah. Do you have a favorite football team?
So I'm in Carolina now, so I feel like I have to pick the Carolina.
No, you don't. You don't. You don't have to.
Haven't been that great as of late. But I grew up in Winnipeg, which is near Minnesota. So I was a Minnesota Vikings fan forever. Back when Adrian Peterson was a running back and Brett Favre was the quarterback. So it's quite a bit ago, but yeah, I loved the Vikings.
2008.
Nice.
Wow. I was a Brett Favre fan as a child. So finally, and I told you before we started, I was going to throw this at you. You're my first Canadian guest. I'm so excited. I am disappointed I haven't gotten in a bout or anything out of you. I'm a little disappointed.
I've lost some of my Canadian accent. When I go back home, I get it a little bit, but
comes back thicker.
I've been in the States for a while now.
I'm not going to lie to you. I've been fishing for an about, but I didn't get one. So I'm going to chalk that one up as an L. But I want to throw at you. I asked everyone for a Mount Rushmore. I want to throw at you your top 4, your Mount Rushmore of Canadian-born athletes.
This is hard. It's very hard because there's not a whole lot of us.
Right.
The first one that came to mind is Wayne Gretzky because it's Wayne Gretzky.
The GOAT.
The second one is Jacques Villeneuve because he is one of the most impressive and accomplished Canadian drivers. I also want to put James Hinchcliffe up there. He did a lot, I think, for Canadians in racing. And I want to put up my dad because he's the one who inspired me to, go racing. He didn't want me to race. If it wasn't for him and my mom, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And just having them at the racetrack with me most weekends to cheer me on and be my support and have a shoulder to lean on, it means a lot to me. So, yeah. He's also won championships. So
are they? Yes. I kind of buried the lead on that when I said you had a championship dad. Are they stateside now, or are they still in Canada?
No, they still live in Canada, but they travel to, I would say, probably 80% of my races. They'll drive
Okay.
30 something hours to a race from Canada. They're pretty
Wow.
diehard fans. So, yeah,
Wow.
super grateful to have their support.
I was about to say that's some great support to have in your corner.
They never thought their daughter would be racing at tracks like Daytona and Talladega. They take full advantage of bringing the motor home there for sure.
I love that. So my last question I like to ask everyone, obviously I got to take it deep again with you. At this stage in your career, at this stage in your personal life, what does the word success mean to you?
I think success for me right now, where I'm at, is a combination of fulfilling my potential and feeling happy, whole, and purposeful in life.
Oh, that's a beautiful answer. I haven't gotten that answer yet, and I really love that. Before I let you go, obviously we have to talk about Hurricane Helene. It's obviously ravaged Western North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee, among other places. But we were talking offline a little bit about how you spent your day today. Could you tell everybody what you were up to today?
Yeah, so at the Toyota Performance Center, we had a drive for just getting as much products and food and clothes and everything that we can to help out. I know I just read online before I came on here that a lot of NASCAR teams are stepping up to help, and
Yeah.
just this is the time. I'm Canadian, but I love America as well, and I love the unity and the patriotism of this country. And when devastating things like this happen, you really see America come together to help each other out. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I just feel terrible, and it's just devastating what everyone's going through. So it's our time to come together and help them as much as we can.
It is. It's absolutely terrible. And I'm going to link in the description the Red Cross the website so people can help if they'd like to. Um, Finally, before I let you go, Amber, you want to plug your social medias, let people know where they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or X, I guess it's called now, and Facebook at Amber Balcaen 10, and TikTok as well. Yeah, it's pretty much all at Amber Balcaen 10. You can also go on my website, get hero cards or t-shirts, hoodies at amberbalcaenracing.com.
Awesome. People, go support her. She's the best Canadian I know now. She is the Fansview Podcast's Canadian, and we love her and we appreciate so much your time. I know you're so busy today and you have a crazy schedule. So we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to talk with us for a couple minutes.
Well, thank you for having me on. You're a great interviewer. I had fun.
I try. Hopefully we can do this again in person sometime.
Absolutely. Will you be at a race anytime soon?
You tell me which one and I'll be there.
Well, I'm still figuring out what races I'm going to be at next year. So
We'll get together.
No.
Thank you so much, Amber. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. You as well.
We're ready.
Hi, I'm Amber Balcaen. Welcome to the Fansview podcast.
Perfect.